Good evening, and welcome to Authors Up. As you can see, we're missing a piece tonight.
We are missing our compadre.
We are, and it feels really weird because I'm usually on the other side of the screen.
That's all right. We can fix that. We can fix that.
Can we fix it?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I feel more at home over in this corner.
And I'm usually on the bottom square.
No, it's funny how little things can kind of throw you off sometimes. But
Exactly.
I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm glad that you were here with me, Victoria.
And I am glad to be here.
Our audience and our listeners and our viewers, and we have a great show planned for tonight. And
Yes.
we're going to start the way that we usually do. Victoria, why don't you welcome everybody with your bubbly self? Whatever
Good
word you
evening,
want to.
everybody. Don't see too many folks. Our folks coming in slow tonight, but that's okay. I have shared the broadcast like I normally do, and hopefully our people will come in. And if not, they could catch the replay because this is a real good show.
It is.
I'm glad to be here tonight. Just how are you tonight?
I'm good. I have no need to complain. No need to
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I think we'll go ahead and get started with our week in review. Ruth, of course, is missing tonight,
Yes.
and I can tell everybody her week in review. Ruth is with the baby.
Exactly. And we got pictures to prove it.
I know it. She playing with the baby, y'all. And that baby is just as precious as she can be. We're gonna figure out when she's gonna give her date, get a date for her debut on Authors Up, because
That's right. We got to get her Authors Up T-shirt, something.
she is a cutie, I tell you that. But last week, let's see. Last week for me was it was busy.
Uh-huh.
It was peaceful.
Oh, good.
Lot going on, but all in all, it was just generally a good week. The things that were, I won't say unexpected, but some of those life trials and tribulations and tests and storms and all of that were waging through, but with God, and he's got us, and we're grateful for all of that, and just was thankful. Every day I was just thankful because so many things could have gone in another direction, and I was just, he showed himself mighty, and I tell you what, there's nothing like knowing that God is with you. So that made my week okay. Made my week okay. Yeah. How about you? What was going on with you last week?
I say the same thing. I definitely had some trials. My best friend lost a grandbaby this past week, and he was 5 years old, and that was not expected. And like we say, sometimes life be lifing, right?
Yeah.
Life comes in like a flood sometimes, and just one thing after the other. I had to have some injections in my back. You guys know I've been struggling with my back lately, and I went through this procedure, and I thought it was going to be like really like, okay, epidural. You just stick the needle in, and then the other needle goes in for the medicine, and it was sort of like that, but it was two places, and I had to get under the CT machine in order for them to guide to find the place where it needed to go. And then they gave me some lidocaine to kind of numb it, but I was still feeling them sticks, y'all. I was traumatized. And I was like,
ouch.
At one point, I said, please stop. I can't take it no more. And I know I'm a big baby about these things, but it really wasn't comfortable. And I put it like this. If they said it takes a few days for the medicine to kind of kick in. Well, it hasn't really kicked in like I wanted to yet. And I tell you, if it doesn't really kick in, I don't know if I go through that again,
Yeah.
But I get my point in bringing all that up too was sometimes you can't go to the next step like surgery. The health insurance says you've got to do certain things first, So even though I say I don't want to do it again, my health insurance may say, okay, you got to go through that procedure one more time, but I don't know. it just
I know that there I have had experiences, many hospital experiences, but
yeah.
I really wish sometimes, and we did an author, we did a a book club thing. I think it was here,
Okay.
uh, and the individual was had was a surgeon, but he ended up having cancer,
Oh wow.
and his whole perspective changed.
Yes.
And I really wish sometimes that there was another class or a class on patience for technicians, because they can get so impatient with clients. And I had a procedure done like that. They did a thoracotomy where they put the thing down your throat and nothing was numb. And I was so afraid. Um,
Yes.
and he just kept sighing and it's not that bad. And
Well, it was not his throat.
how many, when I had the opportunity to speak, I wanted to know from him how many times he'd had it done. And he said, well, college students come in and do it all the time. And I said, I'm asking you, how many times have you had
Th-
it?
I'm so glad you got him. You got him. You
I
got him.
got him. I got him and I got him good. But I really I understand that. I'm just saying that I have great empathy for you, because that is one of the, it's bad to have the feeling, but it's
Yes.
even worse to be working with a person that just is shrugging it off like you're making it harder than it has to
Oh,
be.
I'm glad you said that because before, I went in for the procedure and he started talking, and I think this is important. And I know that this is not the subject of our show tonight, but I think it's important that we learn to advocate for ourselves. Before we went into the procedure, he was reading to me what possibly could go wrong, and la 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 la, and he was just reading it like he memorized that speech, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, surely this is not the first time you've said this to someone, is it? And he said, well, no, I have said it quite often. And I said, oh, no, you haven't. And you haven't said it to me, huh? Huh. And afterwards, oh, my brother went with me, and I told my brother, I said, I had to say that to him so he'll know I'm a person. I'm
Yes,
not a number on the sheet.
right,
He's never done it. I've never had that before. So
right.
his bedside manner could have been a little, more empathetic, that I didn't go through this procedure before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then my brother said, "You're right." I had to remind him, I'm a person, not a number. So
Mm-hmm.
that was last week, but I'm okay. Overall, I'm okay. If the procedure doesn't work, I'm still working on my health maintenance plan. I've lost about 5 pounds.
Hey,
I got
hey.
I got my watch that is targeting my steps and my heart rate and stuff like that. So I'm really giving it the good old college
Good
try,
job.
and I'm feeling really good about myself this time. So I'm
Well,
on a good
good,
path. I'm on a
good.
good
That's
path. So
good. And
to God
I
be the
pat you on the
glory.
back too. I pat
Thank
you on
you.
the back too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So what are we doing tonight?
Well, tonight we have a wonderful guest, and this is we're kind of switching some things, so we're gonna tell
Yes.
our audience to bear with us on this.
Just a little bit.
This is going to be
Un poco.
Tori usually does so well, but I'm going to try to do it tonight, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest.
Yes.
Elizabeth Solaru is an author, an international keynote speaker, an award-winning entrepreneur, and a former scientist and headhunter. She founded the world-renowned multi-award-winning Atelier, Elizabeth's Cake Emporium, and the Luxury Business Emporium. She is she's a host of the Luxury Business Podcast and co-hosts the Luxury News Weekly podcast. She's the founder of the Diversity in Luxury Awards, a groundbreaking initiative recognizing and honoring those who contribute to excellence and the rich tapestry of the industry. And I just got to stop right here because this industry is something brand new to us and probably many of our listeners. So
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is a show you want to share.
Yes.
Okay, widely regarded as one of the few experts to articulate the consumer psychology of high-end luxury buyers.
Yes.
She has been engaged to speak on luxury topics in 30 cities around the world. Now, after a brief pause, we will return and we'll be able to introduce you to our guest for the evening, Elizabeth Solaru.
Yes, and we must tell our listeners and our viewers that we had to pre-record our interview with her because
Absolutely.
she lives in London. So Ruth was able to make the interview, so that's why you will see Ruth, but not right now. So
That's right.
hang
Thank you
tight.
for the reminder, Victoria.
And they'll be like, what does happen? Wait, I saw 3 and now I'm seeing 4. Wait. We got this going. All right, hold on, guys.
Well, welcome. Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
We're so glad to have you with us today and just to bring us something very, very exciting. It is an avenue that we have not traveled before, so it is of great interest to us. We have had an opportunity to see your tell you. I'll tell you later. But Ruth's going to go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, welcome and thank you so much for being on our show. So let's start off with, tell us about your book, The Luxpreneur.
Okay, so the book is it's been called a blueprint for anyone who wishes to set up a business in the luxury space. And what had happened was that over the pandemic, I was doing a bit of research because I have a business in the luxury space. And we all know what happened in 2020 with the George Floyd, et cetera, and it really affected us in the UK as well. We also had our summer of discontent in solidarity. So I was researching and I was thinking, what's happening in the luxury space? So are we grappling with the same problems? And then I saw an article that was written by a professor in Penn State, and she made a statement. She said, there's hardly any diversity in luxury. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So again, I'm a book lover. I bought a bunch of books, and then I realized a couple of things. Number one, a lot of business books or books on luxury in the luxury space are written by professors of luxury, very well written, very well researched, but they are professors of luxury. They're not business owners. And the business owners that do write books, when it comes to luxury business, they work for the very big brands. So there wasn't really a book out there for people who just want to set up a business with, say, a secondhand mixer and £40 in the bank. So I said to myself, I was going to write a business book. And another thing I found out was that on the bestseller list, the business books written by women, only 3% of books on the bestseller list are written by women. Majority of the books are written by men.
Wow.
And then when you then further, you trunk it down to women of color, that's about 0.3% of business that are written by women of color. So, and I thought whether these stats are very dire. So we have a duty and an obligation to actually contribute to when it comes to business, because right now, a lot of the business books that we have out there are written from a particular perspective. I think they need to hear our perspective. So that's why I wrote the book.
And you know what? I have to say that is incredible, because I started, just the premise alone when you get reached out was interesting to me. I can't say that I'm a luxury brand connoisseur, but so when I started reading the book itself, it got me thinking, and I had to, talk to my husband and my daughter, and I'm like, well, what constitutes a luxury brand? What, you don't think of it on our level. You think of luxury brand up here, and it's not even on the same plane. So, for me, your book was very eye-opening, because it got me thinking, maybe it's not just, okay, the Birkin and the Michael Kors and all of that. Maybe it is about my mindset. Well, also the wallet, but my mindset as a business person. Yes. So to me, that is where your book excelled. And I have to say, I'm going to ask you to share your luxury brand and your story, but I love how you phrase it here. You say, my own story is one of going from lab coats to C-suites to cake couture. I think that of my values as giving my luxury brand its flavor and soul, my philosophy as a recipe book that guides me through the chaos of entrepreneurship, my storytelling as the icing on the cake that makes my buyers swoon, and my authenticity as a delicious, one-of-a-kind luxury cherry on the top. Yes. And I think that is so true. You stay true to your brand and to who you are. But tell us about what your luxury brand is and what your story is.
So a quick thing about my story. I started as a microbiologist. That's what I studied at university. I have my master's in medical microbiology and parasitology. A mouthful, I know.
Oh my goodness.
So I was a scientist for about 13, 14 years. And then I did an MBA, became a headhunter, and I was quite happy in that. And then 2008, obviously we know what happened. The markets fell. And I said to myself, okay, I've now gotten to a milestone birthday. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So I decided to pursue my childhood dream of opening a cake shop. And I quickly realized I needed clients. So I did what I was trained to do when I was a headhunter. I took the yellow pages and I made a bunch of phone calls. I called about 120 event planners until one Wednesday afternoon, I called a particular office, and that office happened to be the office of the best event planner in the UK. And she happened to be the cousin to the late Queen Elizabeth. So, and her name is Lady Elizabeth. So I'm Elizabeth, calling an Elizabeth who is related to a very famous Elizabeth. She became one of my first clients. And I remember saying to the girl at the other end, I can drop some samples with you in the next few days. Are you open to that? And she said, yes. I dropped the samples and the rest is history. So it was a cake business. But although it was a cake business, it really took me around the world. So I ended up making cakes for royalty, ultra high net worths. Wow. And there's something about free cake where you get to know them on a deeper level. And I think that really informed the psychology part of my book. So I was looking at people not through the fact that they had a bunch of money, but through certain behaviors and psychology and how they buy. So that's how I ended up running my cake business. I still run my cake business, but 2020 was when I started delving a lot more into the luxury business side of things, because a lot of people were asking me to speak. So I was getting a lot of speaking gigs and I was just sharing what I know. I didn't realize there was anything special about what I know. I honestly thought that there were so many luxury experts out there that everything to be said had been said, but I didn't realize I was tapping into a certain market and a certain consciousness about what luxury meant.
Oh,
Well,
that's
I
incredible.
just must say, I just am very upset that you weren't able to bring cake today. Because after looking at your website and looking at the cake, I want some cake. Okay, I'm sorry. I digress.
So how was it then going? I mean, because you are a creative, obviously in the kitchen. That is not where my creativity lies. I failed miserably at that, but I am very good at writing words. So how did you take your creativity from the kitchen to the laptop?
Okay,
Or was it a stretch?
yeah, I'd always written, actually. I do love,
Okay.
when I was, even as a scientist, I do love reading
Mhm.
scientific journals and papers and stuff like that. And I have a very curious mind. And when I was a headhunter, um, obviously I went from labs to being a headhunter, and I had no network. I knew nobody. I didn't go to school with posh people. I didn't know any, so I thought, oh my God, okay, how do I distinguish myself? How do I make myself seem different to all my colleagues? And then I noticed that on our company website, on the homepage was all the articles, and there was only one person who wrote articles, and that was the chairman, the owner of the company. So I remember going up to him and saying, do you mind if I write articles as well? And I will submit them to you. And if they're good enough, you can put them on the website. He was so happy. He said, at last, I can stop being so I started writing articles for the company website.
Love it.
And then once that passed that test of the company website, I started writing articles for a magazine, a church magazine, but it was called Leadership and Lifestyle. And so that was how I practiced writing, writing for business, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then another company that I worked for, every month we would have a bunch of chief executives for a roundtable lunchtime, and I would offer to take minutes. And again, because I quickly realized there's a lot of power when you take the minutes, because you record whatever you say happened. So I realized so that was how I started practicing and honing my skills. And so when it came to write my book, I wouldn't say, it all came effortlessly, because it didn't. It didn't. But I learned a lot. And also, this wasn't my first book. I'd actually written a cake book before. Although the cake book was a lot of pictures, but I still had to write the words. So I already had a practice when it came to writing a book.
Yes. And your first book was called Opulencia?
Opulent. Yes.
Okay.
It simply means opulent in Italian and Spanish. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so who do you see as your audience for this book?
Okay. So for this book, it's there are a couple of people. So the first one is anyone who runs a business and they want to get into the luxury space. This is a must-read book. But somebody told me something recently. They're not in the luxury space, but he said to me he wanted to know how to treat his clients very special. And he read it and he said he actually then found it wasn't just about treating a client special, it was about him and his mindset. Because in the book, I actually detail about the luxury mindset, but more importantly, I talk about the different types of business founders.
Right.
And he was able to type himself, and he was able to understand why certain things he tells his team don't go over so well. So he said to me, oh my God, he said the book actually helped him, as opposed to him saying, I want to read it so I can know about clients. It ended up helping him. So that's my target. So anyone who runs a business, who wants to understand themselves and who also wants to understand clients out there, the book is for them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so I will say I went to London last September. I love the city. I will be going again this September. Where do I find you?
Okay.
So I may be shooting you an email before I end up
Yes,
go over there.
please.
But
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
so thank you so much, Elizabeth. Andrea, what you got?
I am blown away, but
I'm with you on that.
I really am. I was not even thinking or processing anything about the luxury industry, a luxpreneur. So all of this was just new to me, and it was just so exciting. When I went to your website, I've got to say this, and I know that we had brought you here to talk about your book and all of that. But when I went to your website, I thought, how many times can I lift my face up off the floor? I have never seen such exquisite work in my life. I really haven't. And I found
Great.
myself, talking to different people and saying, you have got to go and see these cakes. What people think is luxury and exquisite and unique and all that, they have no idea until they go to your website and see what you have there. My problem is the whole time I was reading the book, I just wanted to eat something. I just wanted to snack on something because I thought this has got to be the most wonderful tasting confectionery delight, just a treat. And I actually agree with you because as I was reading the book, I thought, and I had said to the ladies before we began the interview, anybody
Mhm.
who is looking to level up, and I think that's the way you phrased it in one of your chapters, was looking to level up and does it without benefit of this guide, because this really is a guide
Mhm.
that covers everything, and I really like the way that you broke it down when you were getting into your specific chapters where you were explaining the different types of luxury brands and things and the high end and all of that, to look at that and realize that there is, you covered everything. You covered strategy, you covered the actual product, you covered finding your clients, I mean, there is an amazing roadmap there. So Elizabeth, if I were just starting out and looking at the wealth of information that you have included, where would I even begin? If there is there one chapter or one section or one of the 9 principles or archetypes or whatever that would be the place that you would say, okay, this may be number 3 here, but I really think it's number 1 and where you should start. Where would you point me? Where would you lead me?
I would say it all starts with you, because luxury is a mindset. And what do I mean by that? So if I say Louis Vuitton, you recognize that, right?
Mhm.
If I say Chanel, you recognize that. If I say Gucci, you recognize that.
Mhm.
But this is why I say it starts with a mind. So if I tell you that Louis Vuitton, he walked 300 miles barefoot to Paris when he was a 13-year-old, would you believe that? Would you believe that when he got to Paris and he became an apprentice, because it took him 2 years, he got to Paris when he was 15, and he literally just made one observation. He observed that he was an assistant to a trunk maker, and he noticed that a lot of the trunks had rounded tops, so you couldn't stack them one on top of each other. So he decided to make trunks very flat. That was it. That was the observation. If I tell you that Gucci, when he was 17, he left his hometown in Italy. He came to the UK to work at the Savoy as a porter. So he was a bellboy. All he did was carry luggage back and forth. But again, he made an observation that a lot of the luggage, the leather luggage, was very exquisite, very elegant. And he went back to his country to do the same. And that's how he started his leather goods company. So I always say it starts with you. Don't look at the outside. Don't look at what other people are doing. Don't look at, oh my God, this is a standard. This is the norm. It starts with you. What are you noticing that other people are not noticing? Coco Chanel, I say the same thing. When she was 10, her father dumped her in an orphanage. She learned how to sew from the nuns. And then when she left, when she was 18, her first business, she opened a hat shop. But the hat shop didn't do well. But she then noticed something, that there's a material, jersey, very cheap material. It was used in making men's underwear. She decided to use that fabric. It was cheap. She decided to use it to make the simple black dresses. And everybody thinks she invented the little black dress. She didn't invent the little black dress, but it became so synonymous with her, everyone thought she did it. So it all starts with you. And that is why I started with, once you know your archetype. So I, for example, I know I am two things. I came out as a visionary and I came out as a craftsman. And that's great. Oh my God, you're a visionary. But here's a problem. It's great being a visionary, but I need to be grounded in the present. It's great being a craftsman. You talked about the exquisite craftsmanships of the cakes. And yes, I do spend a lot of time making those cakes. But here's a problem. Being a craftsman, I'm not thinking about how much it's costing me in terms of time and resources. I'm not thinking about what I'm charging my clients because I just want to create beautiful stuff. But there comes a time, if you're running a business, where you say, Elizabeth, you need to think of costs. This is how much they're paying you. You need to limit. You need to do this. You need to do that. So that's why I say it starts with you. Once you know who you are, you can then say, okay, because I'm this way, when it comes to craftsmanship, I need a business manager that keeps an eye on the money. I need a business manager that would market my stuff for me. I need a business person that can do storytelling much better than I can. Yes. So that is why I always say to people, it starts with you. And you need to believe that you can do it. And you also need to recognize the good, the bad, and the ugly about who you are. Because that's the only way you can really go for it. So that way, when people tell you one thing about yourself that is true, that is not true, you're not put off because you're saying, actually, that's true. I already know that.
Good point.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Good point. So that is why I say to people, it's a process of self-discovery.
I love that. And it's so interesting because last week, I think it was, or I'm not sure, we're going to air this tomorrow, but we were talking about the art of storytelling, the analogy of the art of storytelling. And that was one of the things that was so clear in your book, was about the importance of telling the story, being the storyteller for how you got started, for your brand, how you got to be where you are. And anytime I hear a scientist with the expertise that you have to do what you do, that's first thing. But the second thing is, we've been talking about the childhood dream. Yeah. And you mentioned as a child that that's what you wanted to do, and to see the evolution of that, to be able to witness the evolution of that, is just absolutely amazing. Just amazing. I want a cupcake, Elizabeth. Okay.
Can we ship? Can we ship?
But I'm going to turn you over to Victoria.
First of all, I absolutely love the book. I believe that this book is for anybody, like you said, who owns a business. Because I'll be honest, when I first picked it up, I was like, well, I sell jewelry, and I sell a particular brand of jewelry, so it's not mine. But I saw so many things in the book that I still could use for my business. Yes. So I was so happy that you said that earlier, because one of the first things I noticed was talking about the buyer experience. Yes. And I'll just share just briefly. I have a website, as the company has given you the website and all that. And then I sell my jewelry live on Facebook, and and then by word of mouth. And then I'll tell my clients all the time, well, you can go on the website, you can get pieces that I don't have, and I'll let them know when the new pieces drop out. Nobody ever buys from my website. And then I found out, and I was like, I think I asked a couple people one time, and one of my friends said, well, I like when you show it. Well, it's the same picture, it's the same jewelry, but they just said it's something about when I'm showing it and I'm talking about it and I'm all animated because I'm really excited. Like how I'm talking now is how I'll talk about this earring, and they'll say it's something about your show. And I was like, I didn't realize I was doing a show. And I thought I was just selling the jewelry. I put a number up, talk about the jewelry, and anybody want it. And they said it is how I make them feel. And so I think that is really important. And so thank you for writing such a book. And I'm gonna tell our audience now, get the book. You are you're trying to do a business. I think that there's something in your book for everyone. Whether you're luxury end or low end. I won't say my little jewelry is low end, but it's mid end. But how long did it take you to write this book? Because it is so detailed, it is so well mapped out from beginning to end. How long did it take you to write it?
Oh, I think that's one of my favorite questions ever. It took about 2 years and a bit. Although I had the idea in 2020. It was a completely different book. I wanted to write like a luxury guide, like a guide to luxury.
Yes.
Because a lot of people they're curious about the luxury lifestyle, but then I realized that actually I'm best suited to demystifying luxury business.
Got you.
And so I started out one way, but halfway through I kind of changed course. And it was blood, sweat, and tears, because there was it's like any other journey. There are bits that I enjoyed. There are bits where I wrote a book and I'm thinking, yes, this is really great. But the one thing I do, I would always recommend is if anybody out there is writing a book, you need two kinds of editors. The editor to edit to make sure that what you're saying makes sense, and the editor that challenges every single thing you write.
Wow.
Somebody that would literally, and then different editors bring different strengths. So with one of my editors, he was like a friend. And this was the thing, because I honestly thought somebody who looked like me and was the same gender would be the best editor for me. It turned out to be the opposite. He doesn't look like me, we're different, but he's an incredible, amazing person. But somebody who looked like me turned out to be, I wouldn't say adversarial, but she would say, this doesn't make sense. I wouldn't use this story here. She was and that was her strength. Her strength wasn't in editing the grammar or the sentence or anything like that. That's not her strength. Hers was big picture thinking.
Wow.
And I'm so glad that I had both of them. And I believe that the success of the book was down to both of them, really, because they literally, they didn't and this lady was so blunt, really, really. And the guy was very nurturing and lovely.
Yeah.
But you need both. You don't, a nurturing person is literally would co-sign some of your weaknesses, and then someone who is very critical, because you need to be able to, when people read something, you need to be able to say, and so what, and so what, mindset.
Right.
Clients, who cares? So the process for me, I think it was one of the most enriching experiences, because I learned a great deal.
Wow.
And being able to do it within a certain set time was incredible, because in between I pitched it to a couple of a big name publishers.
Okay.
They didn't think, one of them didn't think the market was big enough. They've been proven wrong. Yay.
Yes.
Good to hear that. Yeah, I was going to ask that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, one of them didn't think the market was big enough. But the other one, I think sometimes, because when you're pitching to a big publisher, they need to be able to market you as well.
Yes.
And they also need to be able to put aside a decent budget for the marketing.
Yes.
So, and I spoke to a couple of friends who had gone with that publisher, and they were like, don't do it. But self-publishing is not for the faint-hearted at all, because you are everything, and the box you. So good, bad, grammatical errors, all that you don't see until the book is published, that's on you.
Right.
But if you're with a big publishing company, they give you so much that you're not even aware of.
Wow.
But on the other hand, there are also some other underhanded things that happen. But so I weighed everything up and I decided, okay, I'm going to bet on myself.
All right.
I'm just going to go for it and let's see what happens. And I've ended up on a program like this, on a show like this. But if I'd gone to a big publisher, I wouldn't have been motivated enough to speak to you ladies. So I'm, in a way, I'm very grateful I went down the route that I did.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. That's very humbling for us. But you had something you want to ask, Ruth?
Well, I wanted to say, you know what? Honestly, I am I assist self-published authors. I publish books as well, and I was struck by your book, the simplicity, the elegance of just the design. And you could argue that there was no design; it's just a black cover. But I think it flowed throughout the whole book, and I think it represented everything every word that you had in there. So I would say you made the absolute best decision. I thought it was beautiful.
Thank you so much for that. Because, I mean, I'm so glad you noticed the design, because I do love simplicity. And the guy who designed this also did my first book.
Yes.
So I had an idea in my head of what I wanted. He had an idea of what he wanted. And then eventually we came to a really great agreement, because I know I wanted plain, and the hardest books to design are the plain. There's no hiding place, because he wanted this, and he also wanted to put a wedge, like a pie. I'm like, no. So we had to play around with the font. We had to play around with color. And I know it, I'm so glad, because I know it doesn't look like it, but a lot went into that book.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the book? Do you have the book near you?
Yes.
Yeah, please show us. Look at that, y'all.
Yeah.
Look.
I'm telling you, and the inside is just as beautiful too. I thought it all flowed perfectly. Yes, it is.
Get the book, everybody. Get the book. So I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then I'm gonna ask you two more. How has the book been received since you said that?
I've been, honestly, because again, second guessing, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm wading into a territory where there are a lot of professors and there's a lot of experts. And I remember just before I pressed go, I had the most heads. I never, nothing like that. I had to be talked off a ledge for
oh my God, you had a serious meltdown.
Massive one. But I think for me, the surprising thing is that I've been asked by the best business schools to give talks about my book, which has been surprising. I've literally just come back from Sri Lanka, where I gave a talk at a luxury conference. So it's given a lot of opportunities. And then I've been named by the World Chamber of Luxury Commerce or something, a World Luxury Chamber of Commerce, as one of the top 100 speakers. So it's given me a lot of opportunity, which again, as a Black woman, you rarely get onto those platforms in the luxury space. So I'm really
right. Well,
so
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, microbiologist. Well, where can our listeners and our viewers find you if they want to get in touch with you, and how could they view those cakes? Just tell us.
Best place to get hold of me is on LinkedIn. That's my space.
Okay.
the cakes, you can go to the website, Elizabeth's Cake Emporium. The book, Amazon. Amazon is my, especially for a self-publisher like myself.
Yes.
Amazon is something. So yeah, a book on Amazon. But on LinkedIn, anyone can contact me, Elizabeth Solaru, on LinkedIn. And I literally post every day about luxury, luxury business, etc. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. And you will be getting a review, so don't be surprised when you see a couple more in there. Get the book. I'm just going to say it. Get the book, everybody. Get the book. I'm done. I'm done.
Well, Elizabeth, we thank you so much for being with us. And like you said, a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is changing the way that you think. I just think that we have had an opportunity tonight. Each of us have viewed this differently and from different vantage points. When you say that this is simplicity, and you said you didn't think you were doing anything very special, let me correct your thinking on that. This is amazing. It is very special. And as much as you talk about simplicity, there is something very intricate in the designs that you do, and the way that you come across is just unique. Your story is amazing. And I just echo Victoria. I'm right on her heels. Everybody, whether you are thinking luxury or not, you'll be thinking it after this book. Get the book, get the book, get the book. That's all we have. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you, Andrea, Ruth, and Victoria. Thank you so much. And Ruth, please, before you come to the UK, let me know so I can take you out for proper afternoon tea.
All right. I will definitely do that. Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Let me tell you, I was as fascinated with the story today as I was yesterday.
Yes.
And that rarely happens, but I really appreciate the fact, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that we did a recording. We recorded this to accommodate the time difference. It's a 6-hour time difference.
Yes.
For her to have made the time to be able to be with us and expose us to something that a lot of us just didn't know anything about. And it is for everyone. It is for everyone. And let me tell you, this is something that needs to be shared, not just in support of her and her business, but just to be able to be privy to just another whole world. I listened to it tonight, just another whole world. It's worth every minute of it. And if we do a replay, and the replay will be on Saturday evening at 7 p.m. So please, I want to make sure that we put something out again, Victoria, to remind people to go and listen to this wonderful woman.
She was very a delightful person. So glad we had the opportunity to talk with her. So listen, I'm going to do the Ruth thing tonight.
Okay, you got it.
Please follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can look for us under and search for Authors Up Show. My co-host has already told you that we're going to replay this Saturday evening coming up on Facebook at 7 p.m. And the show will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel, as well as any podcast forum that you could want by midweek. And as always, email us at authorsup@gmail.com if you have any concerns, questions about tonight's show, want to suggest an author for us, suggest a book, please let us know. And if you're interested in being a guest, just send us again. That email address is authorsup@gmail.com.
Good job, Queen Victoria.
Good job.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And I will echo everything that Victoria said. We love it when you come and hang out with us on Sunday evenings. We always tell you, you never know what to expect when you tune into to Authors Up. And this was just a very special night for us. We hope it was for you as well. That is it for the evening. We hope that you will have an absolutely amazing week. Victoria is all prepared to take us out of here tonight. And
we miss her. I would say goodbye to our compadre if she's watching. We miss you, Bronze Girl. We missed you.
Come on, girl.
That's it. Come on back next week. You guys have a good night.
That's it. Good night, everybody.